Hey,
Hi.
can I ask a Shiloh?
Yeah.
Purim is coming. I intend to give tzedakah. Should I wait till Purim to give it,
No,
or should I give it now?
you should give it to a reputable organization which gives to actual aniyim on Purim. I just learned that
So
this
I should
past
wait.
week.
No, I intend to give to yeshivas and
No, no,
silos and
no,
things like that.
doesn't count. Matan Sebyonim is for specifically for poor people. Giving the yeshivas and kolim doesn't do any good. That's a
These are
separate
poor
mitzvah.
people usually.
What?
Okay.
That's a separate mitzvah.
Shiloh, they're poor people usually. I don't know any, Bali
Rav Shlomo Zalman, I just learned this past week. Shlomo Zalman says
okay.
it's not easy to find an Evion nowadays.
Uh-huh.
So he says it's best to give to an organization which has identified true Evyonim.
Okay.
So
do you know of such an organization?
there's it's an organization which I like called Matan B'Seiter Bambi in Eretz Yisroel. You can just look at the website, and there's I think Rabbi Grossman and Migdal Emek, sorry, has a website also, and
I see.
your local Chabad might know, but if there are any Aniyim locally in town, but it's always good to find somebody who has definite and real knowledge about who is actually an Ebion. Because
Okay.
it's not just enough that somebody has difficulty making a parnasa. It has to be somebody who actually is impoverished. Okay, so
Very
that's
good. Thank you. I'll look into it. Thank you very much.
Look. Okay, so last time we learned, I forgot to turn on the recorder. That's why I didn't turn off now for this question. So I shouldn't forget. I actually recorded afterwards. But after we finished learning, when I realized what happened. But now we're recording. So we are up to Dalit.
Dalit, yes.
So interesting. A person can't be fully dedicated and true to his thoughts and his logical excursions, his ideas, and even his imagery. Normally, Dimyon is a negative thing. Here, Rav Kook is using Dimyonosov in a positive way, which actually you find in Hasidus, especially ones who talk about using one's Koyach Dimyon like the P.S. Etzner, as being something which is a positive thing. A person can use imagery in an appropriate way in order to conjure up scenes which are beneficial to one's Avodas Hashem, one's Avos and Yiras Hashem. In Chutzlaretz. The apostle have that in Chutzlaretz, Ketchunas and Monos Azos Beretz Yisrael to the same extent as the trustworthiness or the perhaps a better word here is the identification.
Reliability.
What?
Reliability?
But I don't think so. I think it's the identification. There was identification with his machshavas and yonis, vayeros, and yonis, Eretz Yisroel. In other words, it's basically on a simplistic level. Doesn't encompass everything it means. It's hard to be an idealist in Chutz La'aretz. It's much easier to be an idealist in Eretz Yisroel. Okay, Rav Kook again, quote him, Munach. Once upon a time, this was true. I don't think this is necessarily true anymore. I say this particularly today because today was the municipal elections in Eretz Yisroel, and the elections in Eretz Yisroel are particularly dirty. And not only they're particularly dirty in general, they're even more dirty in the Haredi world. So, there was today in the election, there was an election in a place called Elad, and some of the Gedolei Torah said, if you only vote for our candidate, instead of vote for Yiddishkeit, vote for the other candidate, who was Haredi, Sfaradi, Mizrach, evidently would not be a vote for Yiddishkeit. Maybe because they don't use the word Yiddishkeit, maybe because it was the word used Yadut, I don't know. But in any event, the guy, the Adherents Mizrach guy, the Shas guy won. So now there's going to be Shmad in Elad because the Shas guy won. So this kind of invective and nastiness is very distressing. And leads me to be cautious in my mind, because I'd like to believe like Rav Kook that in Eretz
Mm-hmm.
Yisrael everything is Kulan Kedoshim Kulan Torim, right? Let's not.
Mm-hmm.
You won't see that. It's not. Anything you
Mm-hmm.
see Machlekes is worse in Eretz Yisrael than it is in Chutz La'aretz. So what can I tell you? Okay.
Okay.
So people
I
get.
voted Gimel for gold.
Oh, I saw that. Okay. Folks, Kodesh, the manifestation of holiness. Whenever Madrid they're on, the Kiyos Saint Eretz Yisrael with the Erech, they're relatively cleaner in Eretz Yisrael based on whatever level you are they're manifesting. Chutzlaretz Murav saying Besigim and Klipos Merubim. And Chutzlaretz they are mixed in with dross, impurities, and many Klipos. So again, I would love to believe this to be true, but I'm skeptical about it. Rabbi Yoshe used to say, the Gemara in Ksuba says that Abir there, the Arisor Machkim, and one of the people in Eretz Yisrael were two people Chutzlaretz. So Rabbi Yoshe is supposed to have said, just because he said his Sfar in Eretz Yisrael, his Sfar is better than my Sfar. So I don't think people like, say, Lubavitcher Rebbe, who lived in Chutz La'aretz his entire life, would actually agree that, everything we do in Chutz La'aretz is more of the Sigim Uklipos Merubin. In theory, this is a valid principle, and it certainly makes sense based on many sources. In practice, I don't see it. Now, it could be because we live in a time of Hester Punim and a time of tremendous darkness. We can't see it. But Reb Tzadok deals with this issue, and he says that Talmud Bavli is called Mamachshachim Shivanikim Sei Olam. You put me in darkness as opposed to Talmud Yerushalmi. But yeah, we paskin like Talmud Bavli. It brings down as many times Medrash and Echo. It says that Yosef Tzadikim Emina Li B'Churbana Yosef Li B'Binyana. And more Tzadikim which came to the time before Menabais and the time of the basement which was built. So Tzadok says in many places, he says, we don't understand this. It's counterintuitive, but adversity and being in places even of Tuma and darkness, somehow people flourish. Perhaps even more than being in places where there should be light and holiness. And so we know that there are two types of tzaddikim. We know in Parshas Noach, those who are ones who go with the flow, and those are ones who go against the flow, right? And a lot of times the people who go against the flow are the ones who excel. So all this is a beautiful idea, but I don't know. To me, it doesn't.
Is there? Are you talking sort of empirically? What if a person he actually feels it? To him, it means something. Being Eretz Yisrael. I mean,
I think the life in Eretz is. I think life in Eretz Yisrael in certain places where the Gashmis is much less of a factor than is in Chutz La'aretz can be in a higher plane than is in Chutz La'aretz. I have no doubt about that. But I don't think that that's necessarily a function of Kedushas Eretz Yisrael as much as perhaps you could say the Kedushas Eretz Yisrael leads people to distance Gashmis. I don't know. But one can be Megushim in Eretz Yisrael as well. If you try hard enough, you can be Megushim there too.
A person could be a Megushim Dika Bahema anywhere he wants. Yeah.
Yes. So, but it says, Eretz Yisrael, and this could be, this could also be, although Rav Kook does not mean this thing. If you live in Chutz La'aretz, because Chazal say, wherever a person has those Arba Amas, and there's a famous idea from the Baal Shem Tov, which I think is definitely true. Place where a person's thoughts are, that's where the entirety of a person is. So a person can be Chutz La'aretz and Dovuk to Eretz Yisrael, right? So if he's going to Chukan Kisha to Eretz Yisrael, even if it was in Chutz La'aretz, I don't know if Rav Kook means that, but this is certainly a possibility. His ideas are refined. We saw that B'yer Eretz Yisrael from the foundational aspect of the land of the Arab land of Israel, which devolves anybody who yearns to see it. So it sounds like Rav Kook is talking about it, even in Chutz La'aretz. Something who was mitzapeh, like mitzapeh Yeshua, mitzapeh Eretz Yisrael has this mila as well. So that I can understand. In other words, a person wants to have a more Eretz Yisrael perspective in even a chutzlaretz, it has a positive impact. Conversely, a person in Eretz Yisrael has a chutzlaretz perspective, it's going to impact in the other direction. In Makom Shemach Shlam for sure. They simply Shlam B'Giluba Kol Aver, no matter where they are. That's that I could certainly accept, and maybe that's not what he means here. Hey, Adimion Shleretz Yisrael Tzol Boro. Now he mentioned in the previous paragraph imagery, right? And again, imagery is a very powerful tool, which is also a dangerous tool because fantasy and imagery are connected, and fantasy can be fantastically good and fantastically bad, right? So the dimion of Sholubor, it's pure and clear, Naki Vitor, clean, and I don't know all these synonyms. I don't know if we can medike synonyms of Rav Kook. You mean Sholubor, Naki, and Tar are all separate aspects of the cleanliness, or he's just waxing poetic? I don't know. Sugal Lofa'as Emesalukis. And it is uniquely qualified for there to appear in a person's dimion, the divine truth. And that envelops literally the clothes of the Lubushim. I don't know how Lubavitch you are, but Lubushim are a big thing in Lubavitch. So
yeah. Every word that they use has a specific definition or reference.
Yes.
They don't use synonyms loosely. Everything is specific.
So the Bashas Achebet Samurumam, it envelops or encloses the lofty desire, and this Gav, again, a synonym, Shamagama Haidialis, Ashabayaras HaKodesh, of the ideal goal, ideal direction. Is another word I'm looking for, the ideal
outlook.
No. Magama is like it's a goal, but it's a stronger term. It's not coming to me at the moment. Orientation. 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 Yeah. Okay, Magama idealis asher bel yonos hakodesh, which are in lofty areas of holiness. Muchan lads boras levua borosel. And it's prepared to a as bara doesn't mean here explanation. It means here for the manifestation of the Ruach and its lights, and for the radiance of Ruach HaKodesh. So, of course, Eretz Yisrael is the primary place for Nevuah. And Rav Kook, and not just Rav Kook, other Mekubalim and other Hasidim, held that, even though we don't have actual Nevuah nowadays, we have nitzotzos. It's possible to have nitzotzos of Ruach HaKodesh, nitzotzos of revelation, which come from higher places. True Nevuah is a message which comes to you from HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give the Klal Yisrael, that we don't have. But loftier levels of perception we do. And Rav Kook is saying, which of course is true, that Eretz Yisrael is more mesugal to that kind of uplifted spirit. And that's why Nevuah is primarily in Eretz Yisrael. Navi has to get a start in Eretz Yisrael. They can go to Chutz La'aretz, but he can't start in Chutz La'aretz. So I don't think Hasidim would agree with this. I think Hasidim hold that people like the Baal Shem Tov, even though they never entered Eretz Yisrael, had that Ruach HaKodesh. I think also Misnagdim would say something about people like the Vilna Gaon, but certainly they would say something about long rights. We said before that the machshava of these great tzaddikim was davuk in Eretz Yisrael, and therefore they were able to misal in that way. It was manifest in the Baal Shem Tov and the Vilna Gaon and others she'ifos to get there, so even though they never actually made it. So what the Satmar would say about this, I have no idea. But that I think that's the idea, and I think that's an axiomatic idea in Judaism. But conversely, the damion, the imagery, when a person gets in chutzlah, it's achuru, it's muddied, mixed in with darkness. It's slowly tuma b'zium, with echoes of with shadows of tuma and pollution. Now, again, going back to the Reb Tzadok from before, to evidently to cope with that adversity also has a mind, right? In other words, yes, but that means that's why you have to have more alumnus in chutzah. So Talmud Bavli is more alumnus because you have to be able to grapple with more with difficulties and ambiguities and things which require greater analysis and categorization and perception. But on the whole, so there is it's more difficult. Person cannot uplift himself to the heights of holiness. He will not be able to be a basis. In other words, a base, not a basis. It won't be a base for the influence, the flow of divine light, which uplifts a person from all the degradation of this world and all the afflictions, all the narrow boundaries, tsarim, of this world. Since intellect and imagery are inseparable, they seize onto each other. Person really, even a person who's completely intellectual, it's rare that his thoughts are completely intellectual and not at all about imagery. Most people, I don't think me, but most people think in images, not in words. And images help a person actually to understand things. So you can't really work with words without imagery. It's certainly understanding more esoteric things. You have to be able to not just conceptualize, but also depict. So they act and activate on each other and from each other. The Seichel Chutzlaretz can't be mayor with the same ors in Eretz Yisroel. So of course you have Talmidim or Talmidim or Rav Kook who will take this to extreme and say that, well, Rabbi Tom, Dick, or Harry, who lives in Eretz Yisrael, of course superior to Moshe Feinstein, who lives in Chutzlaretz, right? Which is nonsense. Obviously, this is a very poetic and beautiful concept, but it's not absolute. In other words, even if you held that Moshe would be greater in Eretz Yisrael, which in itself might be somewhat blasphemous, but even if you held that way, you're not better than Moshe just because you live in Eretz Yisrael. That's a very important thing for people to remember, and they don't. So that is a flaw to which some Talmidim of Rav Kook and Talmidim are subject. Generally speaking, one of my opinion, obviously people are going to differ with me about this. My opinion, religious Zionists, many of them hold that it's better to be a ditch digger or a garbage collector in Eretz Yisrael than is to be a Rav or a teacher in Chutz La'aretz. So I don't think that's true. Of course, a person can be a holy person, be a ditch digger or garbage collector. That's not a contradiction. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for Barov Chachmaso, clearly had in mind that certain people are supposed to be in Chutz La'aretz for whatever reason, and their tafkid, their mission and purpose is there, even though they could go there and do something else instead, which would be on a lower level. So again, this is something which my religious Zionist friends and many of the people we know from our youth who moved there to Israel would deny and reject and regard as spurious, but I think it's true. Okay, and I think Rav Kook would hold it's true too. I think Rav Kook himself, he himself was kafuf. He certainly to Chaim Oizer, to Chafetz Chaim, and other people. He didn't hold that just because he was in Eretz Yisrael, he was superior to everybody. So I think that's a flaw, which happens when people take this too far. Okay.
Do you think that these writings are political in nature, or is it Torah? What are we learning Torah now, or what?
Yes,
what
you're learning Torah. You're learning a specific hashkafa, which Rav Kook has, which I think he takes. Again, this is perhaps heretical. Rav Kook, he takes it to an extreme in order to inspire people. So it's poetry. Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah, so Rav Kook, and we saw it already in the Musar Abicha, that a lot of Rav Kook is inspirational, and that's part of, I think, what confuses people. when you see something which is meant to be inspirational, to take it as being literal. You know, because I got it as Chazal, it's like that. As Chazal, the 9/10 of them are inspirational, not literal. Perhaps even 99 100ths of them. It's a mistake when people take them as being literal. I think Rav Kook is taking the same way.
The Maharsha takes it as being literal.
Not always. And besides that, very often he says he is, but then he goes along and says, yeah, but not really. So
yes, his literal is defined differently than what literal normally means.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Very good. Excellent.
Okay. Have a good night.
Yes, you too.
One of these weeks, I don't know, next week, let me just check about this. I think next week's still okay. I know parent teacher conference. Oh, it's next Wednesday. Okay, so next Tuesday. So one of these 2 days coming up at parent teacher conferences, but not next week. Next Tuesday's fine.
I see.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, call to. Goodbye.
Take care. Thank you.